Good morning, everyone. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, this morning's video is going to be a little bit different. I was in two minds whether to share this video, and let me just caveat this before, well, not even caveat this. Let me just put a disclaimer in there before we go on. There's going to be trigger warnings here, guys, all right? Because some of the stuff that's covered in this video is absolutely disgusting. I mean, it's going to be difficult to listen to. So if that's not for you, maybe go and watch another one of my videos or the one I'm going to do after this. But I thought I needed to share this because this is shared now on all over social media. This is a British member of Parliament talking about this in Parliament. Now, the video itself was shared by another member of Parliament, Rupert Lowe, and I'm going to share this straight from his Twitter feed. So it's regarding to the child sexual exploitation that's been happening in the United Kingdom, and I believe, and I would speculate that it's still happening right now. The situation in the United Kingdom at the moment is we have been told by the government that there's going to be a report into this. We have been told by the government there's going to be, people are going to look into this and figure out what's actually happened. Everybody with half a brain cell knows the reality of the situation, but until the government have got that white paper stamped by some academic, they can claim, they can play possum. So I'm just going to get straight into this video, guys. I will share this video. Like I said, there is a trigger warning here. There's some really disgusting things that are being shared. I will stop it at various points and just give my comments. Let's make this big.
I commend this statement to the House.
Shall the Minister, Katie Lamb.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Minister for advance sight of her statement. In January, the Home Secretary said the government would conduct 5 local inquiries into the rape gangs which have terrorised so many innocent children. Over 3 months since the government announced these local inquiries, Tom Crowther KC, a barrister invited by the Home Office to help establish them, knows almost nothing about their progress, and neither do we. Why is the framework for local inquiries now being led by ministers rather than by independent voices such as Tom Crowther? Why is the £5 million set aside for inquiries no longer being allocated, but instead delivered on an opt-in basis? And what does the government intend to do about local leaders who say there is no need for an independent inquiry, like in Bradford or in Wales? The girls we are talking...
So, in Bradford, then, apparently, the local leaders and, whoever you guys think they are, whatever your image of that is, that's totally on you. But people in Bradford are now saying that there's no need for an inquiry into these gangs. There's no need for people to come and look at these. So, what's the government's stance going to be to local councillors, like those local people who have taken control of those local governments, who say, no, that's not wanted here? And why would people, why would anyone not want to know the answer to this question?
About, Mr. Speaker, are predominantly white. The men who prayed...
Sorry, guys, let me just rewind that.
...an independent inquiry, like in Bradford or in Wales. The girls we are talking about, Mr. Speaker, are predominantly white. The men who preyed on them were predominantly Muslim, generally either from Pakistan or of Pakistani heritage. One of the victims from Dewsbury was told by her rape...
Can you imagine that, ladies and gentlemen? Can you imagine right now if there was gangs of white men? And I know these are difficult things to talk about. Can you imagine if there were gangs of white men roaming around, collecting Muslim girls and subjecting them to this? Can you imagine the outcry and the outrage? Can you imagine if you flipped it? What would the outcry would be? Let me just now listen to this bit, guys, because this bit is absolutely insane.
Rapist, I quote, "We're here to fuck all the white girls and fuck the government." Will the minister accept that, in many cases, these crimes were racially and religiously aggravated? How, without a national inquiry, can we understand what part these factors played? There is no question that the state has failed these children time and again. Take the case of Anna from Bradford. Vulnerable and in residential care, at the age of 14, she made repeated reports of rape and abuse to social workers who were responsible for her.
So there we go, guys. That place again, Bradford. Bradford keeps getting mentioned.
But just the following year, aged 15, she married her abuser in a traditional Islamic wedding ceremony. Far from stepping in to stop it, her social worker was aghast. The authorities.
If you're watching this video from another country, and please, ladies and gentlemen, please share this video. If you're watching this video from another country, please comment and let me know if there are similar things happening in your country, or is this just specific to the United Kingdom?
She's then arranged for her to be fostered by her abuser's parents. The ringleader of the Rochdale rape gang, Shabir Ahmed, was employed as a welfare rights officer by Oldham Council. And yet not one person, not one, has been convicted for covering up these institutionalized rapes. So why have ministers refused to establish a dedicated unit in the National Crime Agency to investigate councillors and officials accused of collusion and corruption? And I am sorry to say that that unit, Mr. Speaker, must also investigate police officers. In one case, the father of an abuse victim in Rotherham was arrested by South Yorkshire Police when he attempted to rescue his daughter from her abusers. He was detained twice in one night, while on the very same evening, his daughter was repeatedly assaulted and abused by a gang of men.
Just let that sink in 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Just imagine if you're a father, you know. We're just gonna have to read that, listen to that again, guys, because that is just like absolute, like you can't believe that. That's like that's something off a horror film.
Corruption. And I am sorry to say that that unit, Mr. Speaker, must also investigate police officers. In one case, the father of an abuse victim in Rotherham was arrested by South Yorkshire Police when he attempted to rescue his daughter from her abusers. He was detained twice in one night, while on the very same evening, his daughter was repeatedly assaulted and abused by a gang of men.
That's like something off a horror film, isn't it? You know your daughter is somewhere, and you know something bad's happening to your daughter. You try and get your daughter out of that situation, and you're arrested yourself. How are we not leading towards a civil war in this country? Just, how are we not leading towards a civil war in this country? When, again, I don't know if this is an MP, so I don't know if what she's saying is the truth. I would suspect it is. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to say it in Parliament as she is. But if it's this, can you imagine how you're going to feel as a father? Your daughter's been, like she's saying there, assaulted in said building. I don't know the circumstances behind this. And you try and get her out, and the police actually arrest you.
It is clear these criminals were unafraid of law enforcement. In Kirklees, Judge Marson said, "You were seen with your victim on at least 3 occasions by the police. None of that deterred you, and you continued to rape her." How, without a national inquiry, can we know how and why these monsters enjoyed effective immunity for so long? And how can we be sure it will not happen again? We on this side of the House have voted for a national inquiry and tabled amendments which would guarantee the publication of ethnicity data on a quarterly basis, terminate the parental rights of convicted sex offenders, and make membership of a grooming gang an aggravating factor during sentencing so that offenders get the longer, harsher sentences they deserve. Will the Minister commit today to adopting these amendments to protect our children?
So can you see what she's saying there? She's saying, if these people are members of grooming gangs, they're going to get longer and harsher sentences. Paradoxically, we're having laws passed through at the moment that would actually give them more lenient sentences.
Finally, I would like to read to the House one particular ordeal. Just one.
Guys, listen, this is difficult to listen to. This is difficult to listen to, and I was 50-50 whether I was going to show this video, but this is in Parliament, this is mainstream, and people need to understand what's happening to the people, to young girls, to young white girls in the United Kingdom.
An example of what these children have suffered. I must warn colleagues, and especially those in the gallery, that this is extremely graphic, but we must not look away or sanitize this evil. Sentencing Mohammed Karar of Oxford to life in prison, Judge Peter Rook said, "You prepared your victim, a 13-year-old girl."
Just conceptualize this, guys, before we get onto this. This is a 13-year-old girl. Our eldest daughter is 12 at the moment, and this is a 13-year-old girl, dude. She's a child. This is a child. This is a... Guys, I'm struggling not to get triggered. This is a child.
For gang anal rape by using a pump to expose evil. Sentencing Mohammed Karar of Oxford to life in prison, Judge Peter Rook said, "You prepared your victim, a 13-year-old girl, for gang anal rape by using a pump to expand her anal passage. You subjected her to gang rape by 5 or 6 men. At one point, she had 4 men inside her. A red ball was placed in her mouth to keep her quiet."
13-year-old girl.
When she was 12, after raping her, she threatened you with your lock knife. Your reaction...
I can only assume this has been going on for years, because obviously she was 12 when this happened, but 13 was when the other stuff was happening. Now listen, what this did this thing did to her when she threatened him with a lock knife at 12 years old. This is a child. What is a man? What is a grown man doing? Why is a grown man attracted to a child?
Was to pick up a baseball bat with a silver metal handle, strike her on the head with it, and then insert it inside her vagina. This is not about me.
Look at Jess Phillips's face. She doesn't look. Look at that. Look at her face. Look at her face. She is the woman in charge of this. She is the safeguard. She's in charge of safeguarding.
It is not about the minister or the Home Secretary or any of us in this chamber. It is about them. Little girls up and down our country whose brutal and repeated rapes were permitted and hidden by those in the British state whose job was to protect them. They deserve justice. In 5 towns, these children and their families may get partial answers. But I have mentioned 5 towns in the last few minutes alone, and there are at least 45 more. In those places, they will get no answers at all. What does the minister have to say to them? The British people deserve to know the truth. What darker truths does the suffering of these girls reveal about this country? And why won't the government find out?
So, I mean, I don't know where we go with that, guys. I don't know where we go with that. You know, I've done many videos and talked about the Summer of Carnage coming to the United Kingdom. I mean, to listen to that report and to listen to that lady speak, it's absolutely harrowing. It should send shivers down your spine. Fathers being arrested for trying to get their children out of, you know, stop their children from being abused. You know, the comments, "We're here to do this to your white, we're here to do this to your women, and we're here to do this to the government." You know, and these things, you know, they're not isolated incidents. We have got this constant culture in the United Kingdom where it seems that, you know, our young girls are fair game. It seems our young girls are legitimate targets for whatever you want to call these people. Listen, I've said, you know, I've done lots of videos about the Summer of Carnage. I have. But people are going to reach a breaking point. They are. You know, I'm getting lots of comments and lots of people on the sending me private messages. Sean, after, you know, after so many years, I've been made redundant. After this many years, I've been made redundant. In my personal life, I spoke to a friend, when was it? Like a couple of days ago. I've not spoken to, well, I guess an acquaintance. But I've not spoken to them for 2-3 years. I spoke to them, and the last time I spoke to them, you know, they were saying, "Oh, you know, these people that are coming over to the United Kingdom, they're just fleeing the war in France." No, really, they said that. I said, "What? There is no war in France." And they said, "No, they're just fleeing because there's wars in their country and they've seen terrible things." And I was saying, "What do you mean? Like, wars where?" And they couldn't answer that question. Anyway, Spoke to this person again like a couple of days ago. They've lost their job. They've had the same job for like, I think 15 years at a local retailer. They've lost that job now, and they have flipped. A switch has gone in their head where they've realized everything, and their whole concept of how reality works is just absolutely imploded in on them. And now they are like, they're like, you would say they're like one of the a far right hooligan, and you would, because some of the things that they were saying, and they have just totally flipped on their head. And this is what I keep saying, ladies and gentlemen: people who bury their head in the sand and don't take action, people who don't admit the realities of the situation that we face now in the United Kingdom, they are going to be the ones who flip the worst, and they're going to be the ones they're going to be the ones causing the problems. They're going to be the ones causing the damage. They are going to be the ones who are roaming the streets with pitchforks. Ladies and gentlemen, listen, please share this video, because I do think it needs awareness. I do think people need to understand, especially internationally, what is actually happening on the streets of the United Kingdom. And the incidents that the lady talked about then, they are obviously they're historic incidents. They're incidents that have been through the courts and been proven. Now, I would speculate that similar things are still happening in the United Kingdom. I would speculate similar things are still happening elsewhere in the world. And ladies and gentlemen, if I need to leave with a, if I need to leave with a note, it's protect our girls.